Finders. I'm your host, Gary Falk, and if you've been listening to the show, you know it's about, I interview people about various spiritual topics, mainly about their spiritual journeys. Today's topic is a familiar one, non-duality, and today's guest is perhaps one of the foremost, I would say, experts in non-duality, and the guy who's largely responsible for the vast popularity and growing popularity of the subject of non-duality here in the West. His name is Jerry Katz. So here's the thing, Jerry. You've been a guest on this show a number of times now, and but people who are maybe tuning in and who are not familiar with a subject that's near and dear to us, non-duality. Why don't you kind of like give a little background, and then we'll go into whatever we're going to talk about today, which we don't know, do we? I hope you have some notes there.
Well, non-duality means not two. It means there are not two things. That's an expression of the nature of reality once it's experienced that way. But what a lot of people do know, and what a lot of people do experience, and what many have experienced, is what they might call spirituality, a spiritual experience, which can be called like a seeing through the falseness of life, and connecting with or becoming one with something bigger than yourself. So it's like a breakaway from the small self, which is all our egos, our roles, the troubles of the day, all that stuff is our small self we get caught up in. And so spirituality is an experience. It's a breakaway from that, and it's experience of what you could call a bigger self, kind of a universal awareness or an essence of some kind, and it's all linked to our liberation. It could mean like a surrendering or a trusting into the flow of life. And so spirituality is a breakaway into a different part of reality, and it makes us question who we are and what's real, what's true, what's free. So I think a lot of people experience that, and that's spirituality. And there's a non-dual, so non-duality means non-separation. So it applies to spirituality, because we just said spirituality means connecting with something greater than yourself. In other words, removing the barriers that separate or an individual from their big self. So there's a non-dual aspect to spirituality. Does that make sense with the spirituality stuff? It means kind of like seeing through the illusions and surrendering to the flow of life and experiencing the interconnection of all things.
I think it makes a great deal of sense, and I'm glad you made that distinction, because I think in some people's minds, at least, that they kind of, mix the two. So non-duality is, you can say is a subset, perhaps, of spirituality, because not everybody enters this state of oneness, or I like the word you use, breakaway. Most people, I would say, who are involved in spirituality are involved with it from and the little self, as you describe it, me and what's going on with me and relating to that. Whereas in non-duality, there's that breakaway into the greater or larger or the universal self, whatever you want to call it, which is much broader. So I think the paradox here is that we could say non-duality is a part of spirituality, and yet, since non-duality is, as you say, means not two things, there's only one thing going on, then in a way, spirituality is contained within that. So I like this idea of the breakaway. So let's pursue that a little bit.
Yeah. So very good, excellent. So this is why you're a good interviewer, because you have you understand what I'm saying. You're the only person.
Well,
what I'm saying.
I know. Well, yeah, let's milk that a little bit, Jerry. Tell me more about No, go ahead. Yes, because I do understand you. You know why? Because I've been following you since the early days of non-duality, before anybody even knew about it. And this goes back prior to Facebook and social media, back to the old Yahoo groups. And you pointed out last time you were even active prior to Yahoo. I didn't know anything was going on prior to Yahoo groups. So. But you were there right from the get-go. In fact, you are the get-go. But no, I understand because I've been following you, Jerry. That's why.
Well, no, I appreciate it. I think a nice theme for this conversation is the theme of breaking away.
I like it.
So we talked about the small self, our troubles of the day, the cares of the day, and all the stuff,
Poor me.
We break away. A spiritual experience is a breakaway from that. It's a breakaway.
Yes.
Suddenly we're in, the word spiritual comes from the word breath,
right.
The word air.
Right.
So suddenly we move from this dense material troubles of the day world. We break away into the spiritual, into the air, into the breath, which contains the energy for creativity. And we experience that, and we feel it, and we know it's important. And we know it's even more real than all the material clouds are,
Yes.
So, so that's spirituality, is a breakaway from the small self into the big self. And yet non-duality, as I see it, is a breakaway from spirituality. Because it's saying where spirituality is about connection and interconnection and becoming one. Non-duality says, well, hey, there aren't two things, so those two things can't come together. Two things can't become one.
That's right. It's already one.
It's even a breakaway from spirituality. But when we talk about non-duality, we also incorporate the spirituality. There's not really, while there is a breakaway, when we get conversational about it, the breakaway sort of, the boundary kind of gets a little fuzzy. So we bring in some spirituality. But there's a non-duality, the awareness of non-duality, that there really are not two things, is always in the forefront. It's like you said, it's paradoxical.
Yes.
On the one hand, we're talking about spirituality, meaning harmony with nature and connection with what's greater.
Right.
And on the other hand, with non-duality, we're saying, well, there's nothing to connect. But we can hold those two views at the same time. I think that's the way to do it. Now, there's the third thing we got to do, which is our small self. We still got to deal with the problems of the day. Right? We still got to deal with, Costco is too busy to get to Costco. It's,
right.
Like my car, I'm running out of gas. I can't get to the gas station, So it's like we're dealing with all three things. But at the same time, we've broken away from each one. So breakaway, I think, is a good theme because we're going to talk about, if we get into it, we'll get into different things. So that's what I like to do. I want to make sure people understand what spiritual is because everyone has the experience of it.
Right.
In some ways.
Well, that's
then non-duality goes as a breakaway from that.
Yeah, and I know from my own experience with because I've known spiritual seekers and been one myself for many years, and I can say that I would say more than likely your basic spiritual seeker is still involved with identifying with the small self and how I can have a better life. And so maybe they've gone to the point of like, well, okay, I know more money is not going to make me, that's not going to solve my problem, more this, more that. And so they turn and they have a spiritual experience which turns them into spiritual seekers, but the non-dual aspect is another notch up. Or a breakaway, as you say. So that's
it is.
It's a breakaway. I like this breakaway thing.
Yeah, that's the theme for the day.
Breakaway.
We're getting into UFOs, and we'll get into that in a second. But
and not only UFOs, but listen, I think we're going to get into Bitcoin.
Oh my God, Bitcoin! It's a scam. It's
what are these people doing? What are these people doing?
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's a breakaway.
You want to talk about Bitcoin? Are you crazy?
No. Jerry, I want to talk about what you want to talk about because I don't know anything about Bitcoin. I don't know anything about UFOs, but I do know a little bit or a lot about non-duality. So I'm with you so far. So I'm right with you. But I think if you're going to break away into these more esoteric subjects, I'm going to have to just listen.
No. It's the whole thing is to build bridges. We're going to build bridges.
Okay, let's build some bridges.
From what people know, which people basically know the spiritual. I think we've already built a bridge to the non-duality, I think.
We built a beautiful bridge because we've gone from the mundane world, like trying to solve my problems with, better job, better this, better that, more this, more that, to like, no, maybe the answer is spirituality. Okay, now we're going to build a bridge to non-duality with, there's not two things. It's not me and versus them or me and the rest of the universe. No, there's only one thing, one universe, one self instead of little self. So we built two bridges. Let's see how many bridges we can build today. We have an hour to build some bridges.
Okay. No, so I want to talk about Bitcoin because it's a serious spiritual thing. I mean, a lot of people are coming into spirituality through Bitcoin. And
now that's something I didn't know. No, Jerry, that's something I didn't know. People are coming into spirituality through Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Okay, this is something I want to find out about. Go ahead.
I'm going to try to build enough bridges to get there to show that.
Okay, let's show.
And also, I'm not encouraging anyone to actually buy Bitcoin. That's not why I'm here. I'm not even saying that I even own any. But what I find is that the study of it is just a spiritual study. It's even a non-dualistic study. And I enjoy studying it. And I'm going to try to communicate that there's something of value there beyond everyone's immediate reaction of it's for criminals. It does nothing. It's not backed by anything. It wastes energy. And
right, the dark web.
All those things.
Like the dark web. It's used to.
It's the dark web.
By drugs. So it has a bad reputation.
It's drugs.
Yes, that's it.
It's nothing. So we'll get into that. By the time I'm done with this, people will be begging me to buy Bitcoin, even though I don't sell it. I never claimed to own any either. I would never claim to own any. I'm just here to talk about spiritual aspects. So, but we're still breaking away from stuff. So
we're breaking away from non-duality. Are we breaking away from non-duality? Can we do that?
Yeah, that's it. Well, we can always break away for a commercial.
Okay, so stay tuned.
Can I do a quick commercial?
Yeah, please do.
Ladies, do you have dishpan hands? If you do, try palm olive dish detergent. It's mild on your hands. Okay, just wanted to get that done.
Beautiful.
I'm paid by palm olive. I'm paid by
okay, beautiful.
Palm olive.
Are you depressed and tired? Okay, all right. Palm olive. Okay. I hope I don't get taken off the air because we're promoting a commercial product. But we're joking. We're joking. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, can you break away from non-duality? You can't break it. You can break away from spirituality.
Right.
And that can happen spontaneously when you lose yourself in the flow of existence and you realize that you don't even exist. Well, then you've kind of entered the realm of non-duality. When at that point there's no one to become connected, no one to become to.
Exactly.
So now, can you break away from that? There has to be, it's the old non-duality adage. There's nobody there to break away.
Exactly.
Who's going to break away? If you can break away, you're not there.
That's right. Where would you go?
Where would you go? So non-duality is kind of
all inclusive,
an end of the road, but the end of the road contains all roads, contains all things. It's the totality of existence, which you realize is what you actually are. You ever hear people say, the world is within you, the universe is within you?
Yes, the kingdom of heaven is within you.
It's within you.
Yes.
When I do that, I just see a guy who's, feeling good, has stressful thoughts that I say something wrong to someone on the radio or something. How can that be the entire universe inside of me?
Yes.
I worry about a bill I got to pay. How is that inside me being the universe? So.
Good question. So I don't have the answer.
When people say, when people hear that, the universe is inside of me. If we look inside of ourselves, what's there? There's a bunch of worries, the troubles of the day, and the aggravation. Maybe some good things too, right? We hopefully got some good things going too.
One or two at least.
Yeah, you have a few good things going too.
There's always something.
But you're not going to say the universe is in there. I mean, how can there be a million galaxies in there or whatever?
No.
So the question, the universe exists within you. The key word there is you. So
what's you? Who's you? Yes.
Yeah, if you're just this formed body walking around, okay. The universe isn't contained in that.
No.
But when the you is a big you, the big self, then it's existence itself.
That's it.
And, everything is contained in that, of course.
Including Bitcoin.
Including a little bit of Bitcoin. Even with all the scammers that are out there. So I think that's again, another pointing to non-duality, to the non-dual nature of things. So that expression, the universe is within you. And this means that, sure it is. I mean, all the universes are within you because what you are isn't just this form that's walking around. You are existence itself.
And I think that's
awareness is.
And I think that's the essence of what non-duality is all about. It's like, no, who you think you are is not who you really are. Who you really are is the totality, containing the Bitcoins, the UFOs, if we get to that. And anything contains everything, because there's nothing outside the universe. And there's an expression in, Hindu tradition, the Upanishads, Tat Tvamasi. Thou art that. In other words, and what is that? That's everything. There's no, again, there's no two things. That's the key, meme or theme.
Right. When they say you are that isn't it may include your body and in your life, but,
right.
But what you are is what contains it. It's existence, or whatever you want to call it. Reality, Brahman, all those words.
All those nice words. God.
That's what you are. And so when I say the universe is within you, that should make all the sense in the world.
It does.
Makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So, but we get caught in our small worlds and we think, well, how can it be inside of me? I'm
exactly
trying to get this something at Walmart and I can't get it home and I got to.
Oh.
So, but I think what you said, you mentioned something that's important. I just want to pick up and finish it off, is that in our small self or small world, we got to live that life, right? We got to live a good life, and an effective life, and an optimal life. We got to work on that. So just because we call it the small world, it's something that we have to work on and do well at and live well. It's the same thing in our spiritual lives. We got to do that well. All these things we got to do well.
Yes.
And in the non-duality world, once again, we're saying, well, who is there to live that good life? Well, still, in all these three worlds, we break away from them and we live them at the same time. And we have to keep, be aware of all three of them. Mostly the non-duality, which is should be in the forefront, and the spiritual life, and then our daily life of doing what we do. Live well, eat well, work out, do things that keep us active. And you're great. You're like a mentor to me when I see your life. You do radio shows. You're an actor. I mean, you have a life. You have a wife. I mean, you're like a mentor to me. You impress me. So, you understand all this non-duality stuff, and so you function well at all the levels.
Yeah, I do.
And, you're always working at it.
And that's right. And that just goes to show there's no separation. So we've had this discussion before about what they call spiritual bypassing. Like, well, I'm the big self, let's say, and the little self doesn't count because it's not really real. So you just it doesn't matter if, I take a shower or, whatever. But no. So what we're saying, we're building bridges. We're saying it's all connected. So if you have a regular life, if you're married or whatever, you have a job, well, you do it well. You don't just say, oh, it's not real. And then, but also you never lose sight of the bigger picture too, in that it comes and goes like anything else. It's not permanent. So therefore you don't, cling to it or try to clutch it. You let it be as it is. But again, you don't, as you're pointing out, you do it well. You do whatever you do. You know what? It's interesting. I went to Catholic school, Academy of St. Dorothy. I remember the nun saying, whatever is worth doing well. Well, it's true. I mean, if you're going to do something, you must do it well. Don't just say it's not real. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. True. No, you're right. Yeah. I love that. I remember, so that teacher told you that.
Yes.
Decades ago, and you still remember it.
Yes.
And, you probably remember other little things like that from school. I mean, I find it interesting that. I find that interesting that I've heard things like when I was a little kid, and they stay with you. They stay with you for decades.
They do. And I remember the nun saying, "Don't abuse yourself." Well, yeah, but in the larger sense, but that's also true. Like, treat yourself good.
Once in an English class in high school, a kid raised his hand, and so the teacher was teaching and going on about something. And the kid raised his hand, and he asked the teacher, he said, is all this going to be on the test? and the teacher said, life is a test.
That's it.
It was like a throwaway thing.
Yeah.
And I remembered it to this day.
That's what I'm saying.
And he probably thought it was a throwaway thing.
Just a throwaway
and
line.
Everyone in the class thought it was a throwaway thing. But here I am repeating it. It wasn't a total throwaway thing. because you got to pass that test on all those levels that we're talking about.
And another thing I remember, I don't know where I picked it up, but it was later in life, but there are no dress rehearsals. That was, we're getting ready to have our live. No. There are no dress rehearsals. This is it. This is your life. You're on. You're on,
yeah. Oh, are we on the air now?
Oh, I think, I hope so.
Dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. Oh, I hope the mic is on. No. Yeah, we're on.
Okay.
Jerry, there are no dress rehearsals. This is it. We're live. We're local, right here in the Catskill Mountains. Perfect, Jerry, that was perfect timing because I have to remind people, if they're just tuning in, you're listening to WIOX Community Radio live and local right here in the Catskill Mountains at 91.3 FM and MTC Cable Channel 20, 107.5 FM on the campus of SUNY Delhi and everywhere at WIOXradio.org on computers and smartphones. I hope you're listening. I know I put it out there on Facebook today. I'm hoping people are listening out there, and we're talking to Jerry Katz, the foremost, as far as I'm concerned, the foremost authority on non-duality, the guy who brought non-duality right into your living room here in the West, Jerry Katz. And we're building bridges, Jerry. We're building bridges today. So what's the next bridge you're going to build for us today?
Well, and we're breaking away.
Oh, breaking away. That's our theme today.
That's a thing.
We're breaking away from the norm? What are we breaking away from?
We're breaking away from level to level to level. We're going from one to on.
I'm serious.
We talked about spirituality.
Yeah.
We talked about our small self
and
our big self via spirituality.
Right.
We talked about non-duality as being, the breakaway beyond that.
Right.
So let's start picking up on the UFOs, Bitcoin stuff. And I think the UFOs, have you seen any of these drones that are around?
Well, I've been reading. I haven't seen any, but I've been reading all about it. So all these drone sightings, and nobody seems to know what's going on. There are various conspiracy theories, which are always going to be among us. As Jesus said, conspiracy theories will always be among us. So what's going on with the drones and the UFOs? Tell us.
Well, they're especially seen in New Jersey.
I noticed that.
And, I'm a New Jersey kid. I was born and raised in Patterson, New Jersey, P-Town. Well, nowadays it's known
I'm from Staten Island. Listen, I spent a lot of time in New Jersey. I'm from Staten Island. I used to go down to the Jersey Shore every summer. So why are the drones appearing in New Jersey? What's going on?
Well, there's stuff that's going on. So what's happening, from what I'm hearing, from what I think are really good sources, is that like 95% of the reports are just normal things like planes and stuff like that.
Right.
But a lot of stuff that's going on is drones that can't be identified. They're not being identified, and there could be three things going on there. One or four things. They can be from the U.S. government, which they probably are. They have very advanced drones.
Okay.
They could be from China. They could be from another country.
Right.
That's the second possibility.
That's two.
And the third possibility is they could be made by the American government from back-engineered alien spaceships.
Oh.
UFOs.
That's interesting.
They're back-engineered, so they don't understand totally how those UFOs work. But they can extract enough from it to get them to use parts of them, And then the fourth possibility, and probably the whole purpose of the whole thing, is that they're actual alien vehicles.
Wow.
That are because in history the UFOs have been seen around nuclear facilities, especially where there's nuclear weapons.
Interesting.
And those reports come from foremost military people. It's really they're generally accepted that these UFOs exist. The government admits it, and they're involved in they take an interest in nuclear sites. So even right now, they're over a number of military bases, and nothing's being done with them. They're not shot down. The government still says they don't know what they are.
So don't shoot them.
That's always been the nature of the UFO problem. I mean, this kind of a flap has gone on periodically for decades, probably maybe forever.
Right.
There's nothing new about it, but it's happening right now, and they're incorporating drone technology to confuse people. they don't want, the government doesn't want anyone to know that there are actual alien vehicles out there. So they put up a bunch of drones, and that distracts the people. But at the same time, there's other things going on. So I think what's happening in the skies seems like it could be quite complex. And nothing's being done about it from what I hear. There's still plenty of drones. So that seems to be, a real-time UFO or potential UFO situation that's happening. It's happening right now.
But why New Jersey? Any theories about why?
I think there are a lot of I think there are a lot of military installations there. Is what I heard.
So how do we build a bridge to the UFOs if we don't know kind of what's really going on? I mean, so let's say they are, alien instruments or whatever to check out what's going on down here. I don't know. What do we make of all that in terms of the, breaking away from?
Well, I think the UFO awareness is really tied in with spirituality. There's a lot of people who have spiritual experiences do tie them in with UFO experiences. So again, the UFO phenomenon has been linked with spirituality, and it conveys this sense of breath, of air, of kind of an unknown, kind of a flow with existence, a mystery, something that can't be grasped, but that can be felt and that can be known.
Right. Okay.
So there are a lot of experiences with UFOs and spirituality. I don't know if I'm communicating it.
Yeah,
I would have hoped to tell you the truth.
No, I'm getting because I really don't have any personal experience with UFOs or anything, so it's all new. But as you're talking, I'm also thinking it brings in the idea possibly of interdimensionality, which is connected with spirituality and non-duality. Like, in other words, angels, other beings from, different planes of reality or consciousness entering into, the Earth's plane. So, I'm getting a kind of connectedness, there. Obviously there's an interest in what's going on, seemingly an interest in what's going on down here, especially if they're hovering around nucleosides and stuff. So, I'm sure we'll see at one point, I'm totally convinced, we'll see these connections much more clearly. But you mentioned also in one of our discussions about non-duality, this idea of decentralization. And I think this is where the Bitcoin conversation comes in a little bit, because that's kind of, am I right? It's a decentralized form of currency. I mean, there's no central bank, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so now we can start building a bridge now into Bitcoin, but let's just want to mention that the UFO phenomenon, if you take an interest in it, or if you have a UFO experience, that's another breakaway phenomenon.
Right, that's true.
It's within the realm of spirituality. That's another breakaway from your small self. I mean, let's face it.
I see what you're saying. Right. It's like, it's like that. I had a guest on recently, and of course it's a famous quote, but he alluded to it. It's from Hamlet. I guess it's Polonius say, there's more things, in heaven and earth than you can deal with in your philosophy, kind of thing. So in other words, so that's the breakaway, is that, because let's face it, many people walking around, in this so-called little self, they think that, well, that's their world, and then they have a breakthrough experience and then it's like, yes, wow, there are things in heaven and earth that are not dealt with in my philosophy, and that's a breakthrough into a higher awareness of, like, hey, it's just not about little me and my little, my little problems, and
it is. It's a breakaway or a breakthrough.
A breakthrough.
And the other way to UFOs is a breakaway. It's a breakaway from the laws of physics. I mean, they appear to defy gravity and laws.
Now, that's
of
a breakaway.
It's a breakaway from that.
That's a breakaway.
And maybe mostly it's a breakaway from the government. And some people say that some of the UFOs are back engineered from real UFOs, and the people doing that are part of a breakaway government. So here's the theme of breakaway again. There could even be a breakaway civilization. There'd be two things happening here. There could be a breakaway government within our government.
Right.
That's back engineering UFOs and flying them around. There could also be a breakaway civilization, part of our planet, part of our world, where these alien beings, or apparently alien beings, live, maybe longer than we've ever lived. So a breakaway civilization where they're actually flying these things around. There may also be beings from other worlds or planets. So again, the theme of breakaway, all these breakaways that we're talking about is interesting. It will eventually lead to Bitcoin, which we can maybe start talking about at some point. But decentralization, is a great bridge, because all the stuff we're talking about is decentralized. Non-duality has no center. I mean, there's no one there. And even the culture of non-duality, with all of us people doing interviews and talking and all the satsangs and all the emails and whatever, that has no center either. There's no single attack point. And with UFOs too, there's no center to the phenomenon. It's not like anyone knows where they're coming from, or that there's the boss of UFOs who tells UFOs when to fly and when to land. They're all decentralized. So what can be invited here is people can ask how that feels to be decentralized, or a spiritual experience where you're in the flow of all nature or reality and your higher self. There's no center to that either. What is the center to that? So here we're talking about breakaways, and we're talking about decentralization, and I hope it's making some people are tuning in to what we're talking about with the small self, the big self, spirituality, non-duality, UFOs as breakaways from physics and from everyday perception, breakaway from the government. That's what I want to get across. If people are comfortable, if you think we've covered the breakaways and the breakthroughs and all of that, then maybe we can talk about Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think the picture, I think we're getting a clearer picture of that. In other words, we're so used to centralization. We have, in other words, let's say, the church is central. If you belong to a church, there's a central authority. There's a government. There's a central authority. Schools, central authority. But here, the breakaway is we're going to non-duality, where each of us is like the center. So there's no one center, because anyone who comes into any real, I would say, anyone comes into any real understanding of non-duality realizes, hey, the day of the guy on high, the guru or whatever, pronouncing the truth to everybody, kind of is fading in the background, because people are realizing that, hey, no, I'm a center of this one awareness. So I think it's all filling in. It's filling in, Jerry, and we're going to have more conversations, and certainly, and I know you're going to be coming to speak to one of the groups I belong to about this. Let's touch on. We have about 20 minutes left, so let's touch on some other things. I'm really interested in this Bitcoin as a breakaway phenomenon. Away from the central bank or the one. Tell us about that.
Well, Bitcoin is a breakaway also from government and from banking. But let's just talking about the basics. You can just say that Bitcoin is digital internet money. It doesn't exist in our wallet with paper. It isn't coins. There's no Bitcoin actual coin. But it's like real money. You can buy things with it, send it to other people. You can save it. But it breaks away from banks or middlemen. They aren't necessary. It's a breakaway. People have an experience with it in a sense, in a parallel sense, when you use an e-transfer or you use a credit card. Like, where's the money there? Where's the paper money? Where is it?
There isn't any. It's on computer someplace.
It's just digital stuff.
It's a number. Yes.
And So the credit card company or the bank will keep track of the account. If you pay $10 for something, you're not gonna. Your bank account will show an adjustment. The ledger is taken care of. Nobody questions it.
Right.
But no paper money is moved.
Exactly.
So that's what Bitcoin does. Same thing, except that it doesn't there is no bank. There is no bank. You can do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can use it. You can buy it. You can sell it. You can move it. You can do whatever you want with it. And just like your bank will keep a ledger and make sure your checking account is okay, the Bitcoin uses a public ledger. It's called the blockchain. That's what the blockchain is. You've heard of the blockchain, right?
I've heard of it, but I didn't understand it. I understand.
It's just a ledger.
A ledger. It's a ledger.
Where all the Bitcoin transactions happen in the past, that are happening in real time, and that'll be happening in the future. So it's and it's kept on nodes on computers around the world. There's tens of thousands of them. And the same blockchain, the same ledger is kept on every computer, and it's updated on every computer. It's like a giant spreadsheet.
So every time somebody buys or sells Bitcoin, let's say, that ledger is updated.
Updated. It's updated it's in blocks of time of 10 minutes, every 10 minutes. So some people call the blockchain a time chain.
Okay.
And some people want to compare Bitcoin to gold. So gold, and this is interesting, is one of the Bitcoin, one of the leaders in the Bitcoin world, a guy named Jack Mallers,
right,
was pointing out how gold is mined in the ground.
Yes.
And he said Bitcoin is mined in time, mined in the future. And when he said that at a conference, he got like a standing ovation.
Wow.
It's a great insight.
Yes. Wow.
Because the number of Bitcoin are limited. There will only be 21 million Bitcoin, never be any more. Every 4 years, they reduce the amount of Bitcoin. So
what happens when they're all mined? So there's 21 million out there.
Yeah, they're mostly all mined. Every 4 years, they're mined. So what happens? Bitcoin just exists and thrives, and the ledger is kept. And yeah,
So what happens to regular money?
That's the question people have. Is Bitcoin going to replace the dollar, the U.S. dollar, the Canadian dollar? Right. In some countries, they actually want Bitcoin to replace the dollars because they're so weak.
Right. San Salvador, I think, right?
Yeah. One of their legal currencies is Bitcoin. So is Bhutan. Bhutan, which is like the most spiritual country in the world, is
which country is that? Which country?
Bhutan. Bhutan.
Oh. Yeah, okay, Bhutan, okay.
Bhutan, or whatever.
What up? Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a totally spiritual country.
I know that.
Their currency is Bitcoin. That's what they live on, Bitcoin. Other countries are buying Bitcoin. Different states in the U.S. are considering having a Bitcoin strategic reserve. So it's taken very seriously in the world. The major index funds now hold Bitcoin. Some banks, some financial advisors recommend people hold from 2 to 5% Bitcoin.
Right.
So Bitcoin is it's mainstream, but it's also very much people are very much against it at the same time because I don't think they understand it. But some people who do understand it are still against it. So where was our theme going?
Yeah, I was trying to link the decentralization, which we did link decentralization to non-duality, but the Bitcoin itself, it's decentralized in the same way that non-duality is. I know that at one time in one of our discussions, perhaps on Facebook or whatever, you were saying like everyone. In terms of non-duality, is a node of non-duality. So here I'm getting the sense, like in the Bitcoin world, like everybody, there's no one central, as you say, no one central bank or anything. So there are all these, many nodes that exist.
Many computers. There's no center to them.
Right.
That was the point. Yeah, it's decentralized. In the same way, non-duality culture is decentralized. There's no center. There's no one book, no one guy,
right.
No one mountain, no one place. There's no one practice. There's no center. It's decentralized. Right. So there. What are the themes? So we had the breakaway theme. We have the decentralized theme. We talked about money being sent digitally, and yet there's no paper, there's no coins. It's just a digital thing. And I was saying this: Bitcoin is basically a digital thing. But what makes it special, or what makes it a breakaway thing, is that there are no banks, There's no middleman or anything like that. It's you're just giving, you're just moving cash directly between people. And then Bitcoin works 24/7. It works around the world. You can send it to anyone in a second, just like you send a text message. And maybe most importantly about Bitcoin, it's a limited supply. So, like they do with the what they do with the dollar, U.S. or Canadian or dollars around the world, they just print as much as they want, and that makes every dollar worth less. And so you got to spend more to buy bread. And look, I went for breakfast the other day, my friend, and for a couple of eggs and some potatoes and some bread, it was like $80.
No, you're kidding me.
And I mean, she's a great friend. Our conversation was worth $800. But and for potatoes and bread and eggs, I mean, for $80, I could have bought 10 dozen eggs or something.
You should have had some caviar at least. $80. I was going to say okay, $10.95. No, $80. Yeah, but are you suggesting that a more increased emphasis on Bitcoin would eliminate inflation?
Yeah, it'll create deflation. It'll because there's a limited number of Bitcoins. You can never be more than that.
Right.
So you can't inflate it. Okay, so what else I got to say about Bitcoin? I hope people are people may still be against it for various reasons.
Well, I'm sure they will be because
they should be.
Yeah, I'm sure they.
I'm trying to continue to build.
You're building a bridge. You're trying to build a bridge.
Okay. Let's see another bridge here. We non-duality is accessible to everyone. There's no
that's a bridge.
Hierarchies.
Right.
It's an essential truth, and Bitcoin is in its own way is similar too. No borders. You don't need any permission from anybody to use anything.
Right.
So it also breaks down barriers similar to non-duality.
So in that,
and let me say, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to talk about this whole thing with the end of seeking, which is something we hear in non-duality. Non-duality is the end of seeking because who is there to seek and what are you seeking?
Right, because you already are, as we alluded to earlier, you already are that. In other words, you already are that which you are seeking because there's only one thing going on. So that's how does that connect?
So the parallel of Bitcoin is where you're no longer seeking, but Bitcoin you're no longer depending on all these banks and government and middlemen and stuff. You're having a direct experience with the person that you're moving Bitcoin between. There's no delays and there's no dependency on the Visa company or your bank or anything.
So you're more independent. So that's the bridge.
Right.
I mean, if that's the way it works,
bridge.
I'm not saying
bridge.
Yeah.
Non-duality. Yeah. Non-duality, end of seeking. Bitcoin, end of dependency.
Okay, so would there be no way for the system, the Bitcoin system, to collapse? I mean, could the blockchain be compromised, or one day you go and hey, what happened to the blockchain? Oh, somebody hacked it. Is that a possibility?
No, because it's always you have so many people that are constantly aware of it, and it updates and. If one person does mess with you could mess with the blockchain. You actually could. You could fool around with it.
You could. You could mess with it.
But it won't be updated because the system will detect that it's a false move. So it's self-correcting. It's anti-fragile and very much like non-duality. Honestly, I'm still familiar. I can talk pretty well about non-duality.
Yes, I know.
I'm really learning to talk about it. I'm learning. Yeah. I'm not an expert in it.
Right.
I feel I have a certain knowledge about it, but I'm not really adept at talking about it. So I think I'm stammering a little, but that's okay. I'm learning. I'm learning. So
Yeah, but there was I just thought of another. Oh, I just thought of another. Not parallel, but a connection, a bridge connection, but with Bitcoin and non-duality. But it left my mind as quickly as it came into my mind. But there was
another parallel.
Go ahead.
It might jump. I might pick up. I might.
You might trigger my
I might trigger something. Yeah, we'll have a break. We'll have a breakthrough somehow. So non-duality is also a parallel with transparency, because non-duality really is about transparency of everything, of all of existence. It's the ultimate transparency.
I remember what it was, Jerry. I remember what it was. Now I want to jump in before I forget.
Go ahead. No, say it.
Before I forget, self-correcting, because that was what I was trying to think of. In other words, that's the bridge. In other words, when we talk about the non-dual community, the worldwide non-dual community, we're saying it's self-correcting because there's no central authority, and people work things out on their own. Nobody's dictating to them. So it's a self-correcting community. So what you were saying in terms of the Bitcoin parallel, that world too is self-correcting. In other words, there's nobody dictating anything to anybody. Is that the
exactly? No, self-correction is
self-correction.
I've written about that online before. It is absolutely one of the parallels. I was going to mention transparency. Non-duality is about transparency of existence.
Right.
And Bitcoin operates on the transparent blockchain. That ledger, very transparent. Anyone can see it and verify it.
So in other words,
transparency is a key thing there.
Suppose you don't own, but suppose you don't own any Bitcoin. Can you go onto that blockchain and look at the transactions, or do you have to be part of the?
No. Anyone can start a node. Anyone can go online and see what's going on. There are websites where you can see everything that's going on. Yeah, there's nothing hidden about it.
So it's transparent. Okay, so that's a good parallel. So I think I didn't know anything going in. I learned a lot today. So I'm seeing parallels. So as we go down the road, this will become clearer and clearer. Let me just ask you this: people who might be tuning in and saying, "What's all this stuff?" Where could they go to find more information about? Specifically, the connection between spirituality, non-duality, and these other subjects that we've been hitting on, Bitcoin, UFOs, because it's all. Ultimately, everything is connected. I think that's one of our themes.
Yeah, there's no one place where you can find all of that. You just have to do your separate searches.
Right.
But
there's no one place.
If someone searches for spirituality and Bitcoin,
right,
you'll find some great stuff. Far better than what I've been able to communicate here.
Well, in a sense, Jerry, we were talking before about there are no dress rehearsals, but in a sense, this conversation is a little bit of a dress rehearsal, because I understand you have been invited to give a talk. I don't know, at some symposium. Tell us about that. And I guess the talk is what we're talking about here. What's the connection between, Bitcoin, let's say, and spirituality? Tell us about that conference that's coming up. I don't know the name of it.
Okay, it's not a conference; it's a podcast.
Okay,
but it's something I feel it's one of the major podcasts in the Bitcoin area.
What is it?
Now, I'm like an outsider. I feel like I'm a real outsider to Bitcoin, and I don't feel totally comfortable really talking about it yet. This is the first time I've talked about it. So thanks for the.
No, that's why I think it's been good, because we've been exploring these things. As I say, I know virtually nothing about it, and so it's good to explore these things. And so when is this? What is the podcast? Can we tune in?
The podcast. It's a gentleman named Bram Kanstein. He's in the Netherlands, and he does a really good podcast with all the big names. And you know how we have big names in non-duality?
Yes.
And
Jerry Katz is one of them.
They got their big names, right?
We got big names in non-duality. Jerry Katz is one of them.
I'm not a big name in non-duality. I'm just trying to push the I'm nothing in Bitcoin. Really, people ignore me.
In Bitcoin, yeah. So who's the big authority? Who's this guy?
So his name's Bram Kanstein.
Okay.
And he invited me to talk about spirituality and non-duality. So, I feel I can make a contribution to the Bitcoin world,
right?
By giving different dimensions of the spiritual nature but also introducing non-duality. So that's what I would like to do. I hope he doesn't ask me too many hard questions about Bitcoin itself, because
right.
while I've incorporated a lot of it, I've integrated into my thinking of the way of seeing things. I really need to work on talking about it, speaking about it. That's what I'm working on.
Well,
so let me ask you. I mean, I tried to get this. Do they build the bridge at all from spirituality and?
I think you did. Listen, I think you did build a bridge. Of course, I'm going to play the recording back and listen to it carefully, and I'll send you a copy. I think you did, but as you said, you're an expert on non-duality, but you're just getting your feet wet in these other areas. So I think today was good from that perspective of you're getting your feet wet. Now, can we tune into this podcast? Are you going to put it on your? Can we tune in? Are you going to put the link on your Facebook page? Well, how does it work?
It's scheduled on January 29th, so
okay,
it's a while.
Keep us posted.
And I'll post the
keep us posted.
Definitely when it comes.
I'll post it because I want to find out more. Because as I say, I'm this is relatively all new to me, and this has been good, Jerry. We're coming to the end of our conversation. Robert Steed is here in the studio, and he's going to be up next with his uncompromising music. We've got to get ready for that. Cue that up. So let's tie things up. I think this has been a good conversation. I think we have been we're working on linking everything: spirituality, non-duality, Bitcoin, UFO. Everything is linked. We have to find the links, and that's part of the I think part of the excitement of exploring, because this is all new to you. I've been following you on Facebook, and I noticed that more and more you're introducing some of these ideas about Bitcoin, UFOs. And by the way, if you're on Facebook, Jerry Katz, just sign on to his page. That's all. So final words, Jerry. Final words.
Well, I'll just close on Bitcoin. I'll just say that Bitcoin aligns with spirituality because it goes beyond our limitations. It breaks away. It operates beyond the limitations of centralized control. It's decentralized, beyond our small self, our neuroses, beyond our human greed. It's decentralized. It's mathematically pure. we didn't even talk about that, but the mathematics of it are aligned with the whale work of the universe. They're very, Bitcoin is as part of existence as we are, and we didn't even get into that.
No, we didn't get into any of the math. Oh, that would be way over my head. Okay.
So Michael Saylor is a major player in Bitcoin. He's described Bitcoin as representing the best of civilization. It's inherently spiritual because it reflects the natural order of things. So, okay, I'm leaving people. That's what I really wanted to say about Bitcoin. I didn't really get into it. That its nature is non-dualistic. It's spiritual, and it's tied to the whale work of the universe. It's powerful.
Wow. I never thought, it's all new to me. I'm going to find out more about it, going to explore this because, I never connected until today, actually, Bitcoin, spirituality, non-duality. There's certainly more to explore here.
Yeah, Bitcoin and UFOs, really can, get us to think beyond our small self, beyond our immediate concerns. If we're inclined to do so, you don't have to. Nobody has to be interested.
No, but I think that's the whole thing. I think that's the whole thing of spirituality and exploring non-duality, and getting beyond the narrow confines of our own imagined reality or imagined self, and there's a much more out there, like more things in heaven and earth, as we alluded to earlier. Well, Jer, thanks for being my guest today, and I'm sure we'll be back. And I want to hear that podcast, and maybe we can do a follow up when those bridges get.
Yeah, there's still work to be done. It's a hard thing, Bitcoin. But look, just everybody hopefully remember to break away and keep breaking away to higher and higher levels into new and different things.
Jerry, thanks. And speaking of breaking away, I'm going to break away now. Make way for Robert, who's up next with his uncompromising music on station WIOX Community Radio here in live and local here in the Catskill Mountains. So thanks for joining us, Jerry, and I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
a lot.